Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Real Heroes Show. Got Cory and Nick with you here as always, and it is
right.
very, very early in the morning.
It is.
Both just watched the season finale of Loki, which was entitled For All Time Always.
For all time always.
Please don't watch this video if you haven't watched the episode of Loki yet, because we're gonna ruin everything with all the spoilers. Nick, how the hell are you today, buddy?
We were right.
Yes. It was obvious, but we were right about something the first time. We're both rocking the purple today. Yeah. In celebration of our boy again, for like the very last time, all the way at the Citadel at the end of time. There are going to be spoilers in this video. If you haven't turned it off yet, if you haven't seen the episode, it's your fault at this point. Holy shit, man. Jonathan Majors showed up.
Jonathan Majors.
Man. So much hype. I ran a poll last night on our Twitter account, which if you don't follow us on Twitter, please do, because we have like 6 times the amount of subscribers on YouTube than we do followers on Twitter. But I asked our Twitter followers who they thought the big bad of the show was going to be. And 20-something votes later, more than half thought it was going to be another variant of Loki. And only about a quarter of the votes thought that it was going to be Senor Kang himself. And we'll get into, you know, if this version of Jonathan Majors is absolutely Kang or whatever. Marvel is kind of being coy and referring to him as the He Who Remains character, but not a lot of people on our poll thought it was going to be him. So really cool to see that surprise. We actually have a little snippet here. Nick was brave enough to record himself.
I was
reacting to the episode. I was not. I was too happy to just be sitting in my couch, sinking into my thoughts and going nuts. But here's Nick recording to the episode. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is wild. The two of you, same person. I mean, it's a little unnatural, but wow. Wild.
He who remains.
He who remains. She's still calling me that? Creepy. Right.
All right. So that pure excitement there, friends.
It was early, and I didn't give a crap. My excitement was just irrelevant to time.
Through the roof, man. Like so hyped. So
happy.
So let's just dive right in. With we don't have a plan. We don't have talking points. I have like 2 articles with some cool info to read through, but the beginning with the Marvel intro, instead of the fanfare,
man,
we get this recap of sorts of the entire MCU spliced in with real world
people
stuff.
Yeah,
that gave me chills, the way that it kind
of
bounced through black holes and galaxies and all that stuff. And it shows that this place that Loki and Sylvie are heading to is really it's out there. It's like
somewhere.
Space frontier. So really cool stuff frontier. In there. Yeah. The very final frontier.
The very final frontier.
We're at the end of time here.
Yeah.
So they're about to barge in the door. Loki's kind of like he's playing the boyfriend, and he's like, yeah, if you need a minute, it's fine, take a minute, you know, it's okay, I'll be here waiting. Which, as anybody who's been a significant other knows, you're never actually patient in that moment. You're always just like, come on, let's go, hurry the hell up.
Right.
But then the door opens for them, and they walk into what turns out to be the Citadel at the end of time. And as they're making their way through the foyer, they're halted and interrupted by Miss Minutes, which was great, because this whole time you're thinking this little expo dump, happy-go-lucky TVA ambassador character
Yeah.
at the TVA only, and then you see her here, and she offers them a deal where they can both rule. She explains that he who remains is the person who's in the castle, which is a great comic book reference. He who remains is someone who lives at the end of time in the comics. However, in the comics, it's like a old, broken down, decaying white dude, which we obviously did not get. That got swapped out, which we'll get to in a moment. But the two of them decide, hey, you know what? We're not taking your deal. We're here to finish something. We're gonna finish it. And then Miss Minutes turned a little bit evil in her tone.
Yeah,
which
she
was
did
great. Tara Strong was fantastic there, as she always is in pretty much any voice acting gig that she's in. And then, you know, the door opens, it slowly raises,
some white light on the bottom,
and there he is,
the man
Jonathan Majors,
himself.
star of Lovecraft Country, which should have got renewed for a second season. It's ridiculous that it didn't. It got nominated for 18 Emmys yesterday after getting canceled, which is absolutely absurd.
Ridiculous.
I mean, I don't even know how to process his performance in this episode.
You know, like the way I reacted to it and the way I felt, you know, knowing that he's going to be Kang the Conqueror and Ant-Man and the Wasp in 2023. And we discussed this in our last episode a week ago. Are they about, or actually a few days ago rather, about what are they going to be doing for future contracts? You know, you know, when not disclosing information. Like for all we thought, Kang, or rather Jonathan Majors, wasn't going to be making an appearance to start his contract until 2023. We got a fast one pulled on us.
We did.
I'm completely okay with that because, again, there's the mystery. There's the excitement that I feel like we need in just in movies in general, not just the MCU, but for a slight second, because I'd seen some people talk about who do you think the big bad is in this, and some like, oh, Miss Minutes, and I was like, I swear to God, if it's Miss Minutes, it's some stupid ploy that she's the main villain, I will flip a table.
Oh man,
more tables, and
this is the time
multiverse
where I splice in the tweet that I wrote like a week and a half ago saying that if she was the villain, I would applaud very loudly and then run straight to Twitter to see the outrage.
Yeah, like,
and you
I would be the outrage.
You proved me correct on that.
I would be the outrage. But again, she I had a funny comparison. It's almost like, imagine if Miss Minutes was Mickey Mouse and He Who Remains was Walt Disney showing at the end. Like, that was kind of like what popped in my mind.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Because it's all Disney, right? So
just the man on the throne is Walt. He's just
Walt.
Like, it's kind of fun to do the impossible, right, Loki?
Right.
Man, so it's funny that you say that though with the contracting with Jonathan Majors, because Marvel posted an article very shortly after this episode aired about He Who Remains and the man behind the curtain, and we're all villains here and whatnot. And it says, He Who Remains, his presence has loomed largely throughout the show. It's been him all along. Another thing to wrap your head around is that He Who Remains is played by Jonathan Majors, who is set to appear in Marvel Studios' Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania as Kang the Conqueror. His appearance here alludes to the greater multiverse that's at stake should the sacred timeline break, which by the end of the episode, it absolutely does. Right? So it's got some confirmation on broken timeline and multiverse splintering there, which when you see the branches at the end of the episode,
dude,
it just goes off entirely.
Haywire.
So interesting thing here, Michael Waldron, the head writer, who also wrote Doctor Strange: The Multiverse Madness that comes out next year, he said, "We knew we wanted this show to be huge. We wanted it to end with a bang and have a huge impact on the MCU moving forward. Knowing that Kang was probably going to be the next big cross-movie villain, and because he's a time-traveling multiversal adversary, it just always made so much sense. I came up with that multiversal war mythology and pitched it out in the room one day to our producers, and they said, yeah, let's go for it. We knew we were going to end up meeting the man behind the curtain, and then it was just on us to make sure that meeting really delivered. So they had the idea of doing He Who Remains and having it be Kang from the very beginning. What's interesting, though, is later on in the article, they didn't know who the actor was going to be when they wrote it. So they basically said the pieces were already in place to have him be the big bad at the end of the show. And when Majors signed on to the role, Waldron explains it was so exciting and humbling. You have such an astounding actor who's that much more of a cool thing. You had to write him in a way that he felt worthy of being the villain at the end of our show. And then there are quotes from like Tom Hiddleston and Sophia DiMartino, where they basically said, like, I want to salute Jonathan Majors. He came in the last lap of this series and made an extraordinary impact. He was dazzling. It was our final week of filming, literally.
Oh, wow.
He came in and blew us all away. So like this stuff with him probably coincided right when all the rumors broke that he had signed on to play Kang, when the announcements were coming through that he was going to be in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That was probably the time that they were filming this stuff, like right underneath our noses the entire time, which is kind of incredible. So
it's great.
Who knew? And like Waldron's whole thing was, he said they think something's coming as a post-credit scene. Nobody thinks that the meat of the episode is going to be him. And for me, that's the best part, because for the first time in a very long time, Marvel gave me what I wanted. They did a finale that did not rely on a giant CGI battle. It was 3 really strong actors in a room having great conversation, creating stakes, and then all of that has so many ramifications on all of the projects they have in the future going forward. So whether that's a Spider-Man No Way Home, whether that's Multiverse of Madness, man, whatever, it doesn't, like, it's crazy. They just blew everything completely up and out of the water, and it makes the TV shows matter, right? Like up until this point,
absolutely, yeah,
WandaVision is a self-contained story, and it sets up the Scarlet Witch, which is great, and that will tie into a movie. But at the end of the day, it's really almost like an offshoot about Wanda in a reality that she created, and we don't really know if or what impact that'll have on the greater universe. Talking to the Winter Soldier has some impact because Sam Wilson's Captain America now, and he's probably going to lead the Avengers, but we don't really know where that's going yet. By the end of this series, things are different. Like, things have changed in the MCU in a very serious way.
Drastically.
And that was done on a television show, not in a movie. So, like, I think after WandaVision ended, we did an episode where we all kind of were like, yeah, you know what? Maybe these TV shows aren't going to be the earth-shattering thing that we thought they were going to be. And then this happened. Well, and maybe some of them are. So I don't know. I'm just so hyped. I can't shut the hell up. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous.
So I legitimately just thought of this as you were talking, because I think it was just a cool effect when they showed the sacred timeline splintering upon splintering, I mean, just going chaotic, right? Just utter chaos in the multiverse. And who's to say that one of those splinters, or, you know, as the multiverse is expanding again, isn't a Nexus event? And who's to say that Nexus event isn't the post-credit scene in the season's finale of WandaVision, where Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, hears her kids as she's reading through the book.
Right.
And again, one of the things I think we said, you know, months ago was that her kids, Tommy and Billy, end up coming into existence because of the Multiverse of Madness, and we know that Wanda is in the Multiverse of Madness, you know, with Doctor Strange. So it makes a lot of sense. The pattern is starting to kind of come together now, and I mean, it just makes what's going to come, you know, a few months later this year with Spider-Man No Way Home, like
know.
it's almost
that's
like
it. That's the door.
That's now this
For
is the
all of
door.
it.
Like
Whether it's
this is how all the
Doc Ock, Electro,
Doc Ock,
Green Goblin, all of them, they
like,
can all show up now because
yep.
that door is wide open.
And exactly, you can't say, oh, it doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense now because Kang, or He Who Remains, Jonathan Majors, literally just gave you the explanation that you needed to hear and that you need to understand.
Yep.
The multiverse. There were two options. That was it. There were two options that we got to choose from, and or watch take place. And the entire time I'm thinking, I thought Tom Hiddleston Loki was going to kill, Sophia Loki, and or they somehow start like their own sort of, timekeepers, like with Mobius.
It seems like that's what Kang wanted them to do. He was like, literally, I'm offering you a job. Like, take my job for me because I'm tired. You have to take into account. There's a different part in one of the articles here that talks about how He Who Remains is hundreds of thousands of years old.
Oh yeah.
So when he says that line,
that part.
I'm older than I look. Yeah, a lot older. Like, holy shit, it's
eons upon eons upon eons. And
yeah, dude.
And I want to excerpt a quick note, just canonically speaking from the comics, which I loved. I guess you can call this an Easter egg, and some of you watching might know this, some maybe not, but essentially he refers to himself because I've been called many things, right? He drops conqueror and conquered twice.
Yep.
But specifically speaking, one of the things that he is called is Immortus, and from the comics, Immortus is an alternate version of Kang who resides in limbo, where they are.
Yep.
So again, one of those inferences that he refers to himself as, and it just I love that there's just the slight like addition to his phrases, his words, like where he's being accurate and he's telling the truth, but he's just changing the words ever so technically, and then it's like you really have to pay attention and kind of take into account this is far larger than the Loki's think, but also far larger than the audience may think. And if there's anything that you gain from watching our video here, it's that things are about to change drastically, and we can only surmise how crazy No Way Home's going to be, how crazy the multiverse of madness is going to be, and that movie's supposedly dark.
Yeah, it's supposed to be very scary. I mean, they got Sam Raimi, who is one of the kings of horror, to come in and do that film.
So you can only imagine what's going to ensue based on the multiversal war,
right?
And which is also something that happens in the comics called Secret Wars.
Kind of a big deal.
And who said that they would love to do a Secret Wars movie? None other than the infamous Russo brothers.
Yep. I think they said it's the only thing that they'd come back for.
Yeah. Which. Yeah. Absolutely. And the last comic book reference I'll make, which again I just love that the fact that they threw that in there, was another thing that a lot of people know him by. He Who Remains is Nathaniel Richards. He says he's from the 31st century, which that is accurately correct. He's a 31st century scholar, and a possible descendant of Reed Richards, the time-traveling father. There's a slight difference from the comics that he becomes fascinated with Victor Von Doom and his time traveling, which who's to say that in one possible multiverse, Nathaniel Richards and Doom are talking about timelines and time travel rather, and Nathaniel Richards goes, all right, thanks, Dune. I got what I need to know. And then discovers his own versions of himself and goes, hey, look what I learned. And then they just, start to learn more as he explained in his little clay, futuristic clay animation. That was so cool. I loved
low budget, but super cool. I thought that was pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything they can do now. Like the idea of Spider-Man No Way Home No Way Home has new meaning now, because what if these villains or other Spider-Men find their way into our prime Marvel universe, and No Way Home means that they can't get back.
Right.
There's a character that's going to be in Multiverse of Madness. Her name is America Chavez. One of her superpowers is that she's able to hop from universe to universe.
Yep.
So she's probably going to have to teach Doctor Strange how to do that, because that poor fuck, he's sitting back like, oh man, I have so much work in front of me now.
I really wish I had the Eye of Agamotto right now.
Man,
damn
dude,
you, Thanos.
Crazy stuff. I mean, I will say we did not get Mobius on a jet ski, but however, in lieu of a post-credits scene, which obviously there was not one, at the end of the credits, there was a thing that said Loki will return for season 2.
Yes.
Which this is the first Marvel series that has been officially greenlit for a second season.
Yeah.
WandaVision meant to be its own thing.
Right.
Falcon and Winter Soldier kind of felt like it was meant to be its own thing too, especially now that the word is out that they're going to do a Cap 4 with Sam Wilson starring as like a feature film. So probably not going to get a second season of that. Or if we do, it won't be anytime soon. A second season of Loki, I could see that coming out around this time next year.
Yeah, I was say maybe a year from now, or maybe right. I think we even mentioned this a couple of days ago. Maybe right before Ant-Man and Wasp 3.
Right. So in between Doctor Strange and Ant-Man.
Yep.
Plotting in the second season of Loki.
Yep. And it also makes more sense now. The reason why Spider-Man No Way Home is coming before Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness. And I don't know if I highly doubt Shang-Chi has anything to do with this or is affected in any way.
Yeah, I don't think that or Eternals are gonna have much to do. And we could be very wrong on that. But
if I just say out of the two, maybe Eternals, because they're the Eternals and perhaps they can see what's happening, or they're experiencing what's happening at some point in the movie. It might be at the very end. It might be a cutscene. Who knows? But
you
it's
watched the
possible
trailer
for Eternals.
Right? For Eternals? You've seen the trailer?
Yes. Yeah.
There's a line in the trailer that says, we've been in the shadows and we haven't acted until now.
Till now.
Is now the multiverse breaking apart?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't they in the desert or like, did they go to like an Egyptian land or something that looks like it?
Yeah.
What if we see or get a name called Pharaoh Ramatut? For those of you who don't know, that's another name for Kane the Conqueror. And if you didn't look at the Major's footwear, he was wearing some sandals that are very similar to what a pharaoh would be wearing from Jerusalem or something along those lines, like the Middle East. And
oh man.
I was analyzing it. I'm like, what is he wearing? Like, see, there's the purple. He's got like some gold garments. Like, is that something that could be like, very pharaohish? Like, I mean, he almost looked and had that like that kind of, I don't want to say swag, but just the feel to it. And I mean, his performance. We knew this and we talked about this. Not quite a year ago, but when we were watching. Lovecraft Country. I mean, that's the first where I ever sort of knew about Jonathan Majors or seen him in anything, and I'm like, dude, this guy's
good,
astounding.
He's real good.
He is gonna have a bright future ahead of him, and then he gets casted into the MCU, knowing who he's going to be playing.
And not a small role for him. For the MCU. No, it's a pretty big one.
A very big role, right? And not only that, but just to know what you said from this article, he comes in the last week, probably knocks this out in a day.
Yeah,
probably. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like
probably on set one for take, 2 days, 3 days at the most. I would say
maybe,
because he's in one room. They don't send him anywhere. Like he's on one set with 2 other actors, and that's it. But
his expressions were great, like so well done,
dude.
I mean,
he was everything. He was scared, He was tired. He was angry. He was charismatic. Like,
funny.
Such a range of emotions and facial expressions and all of that. He was on screen for maybe 20-25 minutes.
I'd say about that. Yeah.
Like, he seemed a little bit insane, kind of like a little bit of a sociopath to a degree.
Eons will do that to you.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. So, like, when Loki says something like, "Why are you doing this?" Whatever, and he's just like, "Bruh, I'm tired." And like the way he delivered that line, and his shoulders just kind of shrunk down when he said it.
Like,
you're taking somebody who is essentially a genius, who has figured out time,
multiversal time travel,
right?
War stoppage,
and they humanized him.
Yeah.
But unbelievable. So one thing I do want to talk about from another article that Marvel posted when it comes to what we saw all the way at the end. So Sylvie, obviously she fucks up, but before she does, she pushes Loki through a time door, and when he goes through that time door, he runs into Mobius and B-15 in the archives.
Right.
He explains to them that him and Sylvie made a big mistake. They found the mastermind. There's countless versions of this guy. He's very dangerous. Blah, 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 blah. And then Mobius and B-15 are like, "Who are you? Are you a new analyst?" And we pan over, and the elevator that used to be the 3 timekeepers is now just one statue, and it's the variant of He Who Remains that he warned Loki and Sylvie of, which is like a straight Kang the Conqueror statue.
Yep.
And one of the set designers revealed in the article that the look and design of the Kang statue was a game day decision designed by the in-house visual development team. They assured Marvel that the entire set dressing of the TVA architecture was identical to the TVA that they started with in the series, in order to delay the audience and Loki's understanding that they were in a different place and that they were in a different timeline. So that's on Marvel.com. That's not on a fan site or anything like that. So for anybody that wants to theorize and say, "Oh, well, Mobius and B-15, they had their memories wiped," or something like that, that is not the case. Loki gets sent to a different timeline with a different TVA that is doing Kang's bidding with a statue of Kang there, which is your springboard point for your season 2, which is just batshit crazy to me. Like that.
That's wild, but it makes sense.
It does.
It's wild, but it makes sense, and I love it because again, we're getting into this chaos here. The theories of relativity and just multi-dimensional interactions, and I mean, there's this just great feeling in the madness that's about to ensue.
Yeah,
and I'm all for it. I love it.
Chaos.
Like,
chaos is great.
Hashtag Joker. I don't know, but
whatever. He had kind of a Joker-y vibe with the purple.
He did a little bit.
Some of his, I can see that. But
Loki's, why so serious? I will say this. Same thing with the TVA with Ravonna Renslayer. She just dips to find free will, which again, people that are watching, you may or may not know this as well, but Renslayer and Kang actually had a romantic relationship, at least one of the versions. So who's to say that we don't see that in
one version of Renslayer and one version of Kang had a romantic relationship.
Yeah,
we don't know which ones, but
not the school teacher one, but it's or principal, whoever, but which is kind of funny to see
from Fremont, Ohio,
in 2018.
Which 2018 is right around the time of El Snapperino from Mr. Thanos. So curious to see if they ever explore, like, if she got taken and her Nexus event was pre-snap or post-snap, but at this point I don't even know if the snap really matters, because we're into like a trillion different universes at this point.
Man, this opens the door for so much.
That
and
just
again,
happened in one of them.
thinking about other bads that could come back, Thanos himself could come back, which means it's like talking about, will Josh Brolin ever reprise his role and on a movie to movie basis contract? So as we discussed in our previous episode, which you should go watch as well. The last point I'll maybe mention is I'm glad I'm glad Loki and Sylvie finally kissed. It only took them a few episodes, and it's not a big gripe for me. I was hoping we would get again a mentioning of the Enchantress, or Sylvie referring to herself as the Enchantress, which it's like kind of throwing all the marbles out, putting all the cards on the table in one episode or one season rather. Like, I get it. Like, there's like, how much do you really want to reveal knowing that we're going to have a second season coming? So I would say if there's one thing to look forward to in the second season, it's that we hear Sylvie say, now I'm the Enchantress, and but it's going to be super, super wild to see what Loki season 2 brings.
And the Hollywood press is already covering the fact that season 2 is happening. They're talking about how it's the first of the Disney Plus originals to get a formal renewal. But what is interesting in there is it says so. They're doing Emmy pushes and all that. It says that push continued Wednesday with the Loki finale. Without getting into spoilers, the Loki finale set the stage for Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness. Hiddleston's Loki character is also expected to appear in the next Doctor Strange movie, but Marvel has yet to confirm whether or not that's happening. So the Hollywood Reporter snuck that in there. That's the first I've heard of Tom Hiddleston supposedly being in that film, but now that they're here, it makes sense. I can see it because of where this has gotten us.
The possibilities are
so
true.
We're getting to the point where we're just dribbling on and on in nerd stasis. So now that this show is over, I would like for you to, without going on for 5 minutes about everything, because we've gone on for like 30 or 40 already, what would you give this episode out of a 10? And then how would you rank the series overall?
Ooh, I would say this episode is easily a 9.5. I might rate it a little higher, like a 9.8.
I was gonna say 9.6.
Somewhere between there. Like, it's not a 10 out of 10,
right?
But at least a 9.5. Again, like 9.7, maybe. Just
so easily the best of the series. Right?
Oh God, yeah. Like, this episode is better than a combination of some of the other episodes in this season. So.
Sure.
But I'd say for the whole season, I had to go back and see what my averages are to be statistically correct. But I'd say
I don't even remember what we say for any of those, so you could just make something up and it's fine.
I think as a series, you're looking at probably an 8.5.
Okay.
Maybe between that and a 9. It's definitely the best out of the 3 Marvel.
I think so, by a long shot. So, it makes sense that it got a second season, because
it did, and every episode got better, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to also say. Like, it wasn't like, oh, this episode was weaker than the previous. It was like, just a ladder. And then when you get to last week, it was like, what we get, and then we got the finale, and we're like, oh.
Yep. They did the Game of Thrones thing where the penultimate episode was the one with all the action, and then the finale was the one that just twisted the dagger and dragged it home. So for me, 9.6 for the episode, and then probably an 8.8, I'd say, for the entire series. I think it was considerably better than the first 2 shows. Not to say that they were bad or that I disliked them, because I did like both of them.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
However, the finale for both of those 2 shows kind of let the series down for me, because instead of doing something brilliant like they did here, they resorted to the CGI fest at the end with the punch 'em ups, which
Yep.
doesn't land quite as well for me. This was 100% my shit. I was very into what they did with this one. So, man, I think before I'm so tired because it's so early. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. But I think that's probably a good place for us to stop.
Probably.
And we'll probably be talking about this show and its events and its ramifications moving forward for months now. In the lead up to both Spider-Man and then Doctor Strange. So that's it for us. Folks, it's your turn. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we would.
Show us some love. Drop us a comment below. Let us know what you thought of Jonathan Majors, this episode, the series as a whole. Just say hi. We don't care. Just leave a comment. Let us know you watched the video.
Let's talk.
Appreciate that. Let's chat.
Nerd out.
Build up a little bit of Real Heroes community while we're doing this whole thing. And as always, if you want to support the channel, you can do so for free. Just like this video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and share it with your friends.
Do it.
I think, especially after this episode of Loki, our next video, we're going to rank our top 5 Marvel villains thus far, which there's now a wrench that has been thrown into that conversation. So I think that video is going to come out tomorrow. And then Friday, we'll have a review of episode 12 of the Bad Batch. So definitely make sure to stay tuned to the channel for more. And until next time, all the way at the end of time, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.